Thank you so much. Thank you, Paco. I'm on the product team at Hugging Face, and maybe yesterday morning, you heard from Nazneen, our lead researcher, about our efforts in science and LLMs. Today, what I want to talk about is more about how you can build stuff using our open source, our libraries, our models, our tools. And maybe as people are still coming in, you know that Hugging Face stands for the little emoji, right? With the two hands like that. Would you do me a favor and sort of before the talk, like do the Hugging Face so I can take a selfie and like post it on X or whatever it's called? Okay. 3, 2, 1. Awesome. You guys are great. Thank you. And so 11 things about Hugging Face you probably didn't know, and I made these slides on Monday. And actually, there's 2 more things. So it's going to be 13 things. And the first and the second are sort of pieces of news that came out today. The first one is the new LLM from Mistral that is open source and available on the hub. It's a 7 billion parameter LLM. That outperforms on a bunch of benchmarks. Most of the sub 20 billion parameter models today. So it's a really, really cool model. Congratulations to the Mistral team. You can find it on Hugging Face with releases to follow in our open source. The second thing I want to add to this talk as a piece of news is today we announced a new partnership collaboration with Cloudflare to enable easy use of LLMs and generative AI on serverless GPUs that are just been announced on Cloudflare via their new Workers AI product. So super excited about this new collaboration. And now, 11 things that maybe you didn't already know about Hugging Face. All right, let's go. So I like to start with our mission. Our mission, people may not know, is to democratize good machine learning. And good machine learning for us, that means machine learning that is open source. That means machine learning that is community-driven. And that means machine learning that is built from ethics-first principles. And speaking of ethics-first principles, our approach is to provide the community with tools that they can use in their day-to-day life to practice ethical machine learning. And our team, our ethics and society team, provides a great space at hf.co/ethics with all the best resources you can find on the hub, tools to detect biases in data sets, tools to improve and build ethical guidelines, and there's a great newsletter coming out in the next few days that you don't want to miss out. Number 3, Hugging Face is also open source, and actually one of the most popular open source companies in the world. Counting by this vanity metric that GitHub Stars is, it's the 25th larger open source company in the world. And of course, maybe a lot of you know the Transformers library, and I have used it to train and deploy models and try open source models. But there is a galaxy of tools around Transformers that are really, really helpful to build AI. So, of course, diffusers. To use text, image generation, audio generation models like Stable Diffusion, but also libraries like text generation inference to deploy accelerated LLMs, or PEFT for parameter efficient fine-tuning to very cheaply, efficiently fine-tune models. So make sure you know the latest and greatest of our open source ecosystem. The third thing is that today we actually host over 1 million repositories of models, of data sets, of machine learning applications, including over 300,000 free and publicly accessible models. You can find them all on the Hugging Face Hub, which is usually where AI builders start their journey. And all those open models cover every single machine learning task you can imagine. Of course, transformers started with NLP. Initially, it was used to classify text and then summarize text and then generate text, and now covers all of the tasks of natural language processing. But the transformers architecture soon sort of provided best-in-class, state-of-the-art models for every modality of machine learning. It's actually probably the first time in the history of machine learning that we all use a common set of tools, of architectures, regardless if we're working on audio models to transcribe speech, or a computer vision model to detect objects in images, or natural language processing. And all these models is generating a ton of activity from AI builders on the site today. Over 1 million models are being downloaded every single day on the Hugging Face hub. And speaking of models, right now the attention the attention is really around large language models and generative AI. And since the release of the Llama model by Meta, there's been this Cambrian explosion of new open models fine-tuned and contributed by the open source community. Over 1,000 of them, actually over 30,000 checkpoints available on the hub. All these open models don't necessarily have the same license, and so that's why I color-coded here in blue the ones that are commercially permissible, in black the ones that are not, mostly for research purposes. So make sure you check out the license of the models as you go to build your applications for customers. Now, over 1,000 open models, it can be intimidating to try to figure out like which one makes sense for my use case. And that's why we have the Open LLM leaderboard, which is probably the most liked space on the Hugging Face hub today. You can go out there and compare over 1,000 models that we evaluate according to a bunch of different industry benchmarks, and that allows you to very easily filter through licenses, through the number of parameters, etc. So very useful tool, and yes, Llama and Falcon are right up there. And then if the OpenLLM leaderboard is one of the most liked space on the hub, one that is maybe lesser known, but also super important is the embeddings leaderboard, where you can find evaluations for a whole bunch of state-of-the-art open embeddings models, which is very interesting because right now, RAG, retrieval augmented generation, vector databases is all the rage. So if you want to find great models that make your information retrieval, semantic search use cases that much more relevant, there are amazing open models for that. Number 10 is, so I talked about all these great open LLMs, but say you're not a data scientist or machine learning engineer and you want to experiment with them. Well, we have Hugging Chat. It's on hf.co/chat. It's free, and you can converse with it today with Falcon 180 billion, with Llama 270 billion, with Code Llama. So basically the best open models out there. You can just chat with them using our application and accelerated hosted inference for free. And what people may not realize is that this application, Hugging Chat, is actually also open source. And so you can find it on our GitHub. It's called the Chat UI project. So if you're building sort of assistant experiences, you can check it out. Speaking of Hugging Chat, we built a RAG experience, retrieval augmented generation, right into the application. So whenever you toggle on the search web, then the Hugging Chat will search on the web the most relevant results and find that information provided as context to the large language model to generate the answer. And so who won between France and Namibia during their last rugby game at the World Cup? 96-0, it sounds like hallucination. It's actually true. Okay, cool. So that was like the latest and greatest resources from Hugging Face, but now say you want to build your own application. How do you do that? Using the tools that are available to you on the hub. So first off, the first thing that you can do on the hub is explore all those models. I talked about the over 300,000. Sorry, I was too lazy to update that slide. It's actually close to 400,000 models yet today. But the first thing you can do is filter all of those models for the tasks that make sense for your project. And as I say, we have tasks for every modality, including reinforcement learning. You can filter them down to the language you're interested in. We have an amazing diversity of models that have been contributed by the open source community so that people can benefit from AI whichever language they speak. So amazing resources for you to find models that understand your users. You can filter them for the library that you're looking for. Maybe you're looking for an ONNX optimized model or something that is not a transformer model. Very easy to do. The next thing you do once you've found a model is you can experiment with them right there from the page. So here I'm showing an open source model from OpenAI. Congrats and kudos. Whisper. On the model page has the model card, which gives you all the information that you need to do that is provided by the model contributor, like what are the risks and limitations of that model, how was that model trained, on what data sets. And you can experiment with the model right on the page. So here, if it was a live browser demo, I could press record and my speech would be transcribed right away. But every single repository, and as I say, there's over 1 million that are hosted on the hub, is under the hood a Git repo. So that means that you can not only understand and interact with the model or the dataset, but you can also look into the files that are in the repo. And you can see the full history of the repository and who has made what commit when, which allows you, as you build your own applications, to benefit from that version control. So you're targeting a specific revision of the model as you build stuff so that things don't change under your feet. The next thing you can do with the Hugging Face Hub is collaborate. And when you create a repository on Hugging Face, whether it's a model, whether it's a dataset, whether it's a space, you can set it to be public or private. When you set it to be public, you can collaborate with the whole community. When you set it to private, you can collaborate with other members of your organization, which is great for you to build AI as a team. With the community tab, you can do edit suggestions, also known as pull requests, and you can have conversations with the model author, like, hey, you didn't set up the license for that model, like what is the right license? Hey, there is an error in the model card, and make a pull request to actually suggest the change. Everything is visible and public for public repos. Everything is private and visible to your organization for private repos. So whenever you're like looking at a model on Hugging Face and you're like, hey, this should be different, this is wrong, etc., don't ask Hugging Face. You can ask the model contributors themselves using the discussion tab. Less emails for me. The next thing you can do is train models. So, okay, so you have these great pre-trained models for every single task. How do I fine-tune them with my data to get something that works even better for my use case, for my domain? That's what the training options offer. We have a product called Auto-Train that works right there in Hugging Face, where you just have to click your way through uploading the training data, a JSON, a CSV, and get Auto-Train to create models for you. Or you can use SageMaker. We have great integrations with Amazon SageMaker so that you can very easily bring your models there and train them. Now you train a model, you want to show it to your coworkers or you want to show it to the world. That's what Spaces is all about. Spaces are hosted machine learning applications, meaning all you need to do is to provide a simple Python file for Streamlit template, or a simple Gradio file for a Gradio template, or use one of the Docker templates we have available on the site. Again, you can set it as public, share it with the world, as private to share it with your organization. You don't have to fiddle with infrastructure. If you need more hardware, we have easy options to upgrade from CPU to a GPU or other accelerator. Spaces is probably the most popular, the most visited part of the Hugging Face Hub. If you've ever seen on Twitter or otherwise like these cool images with like spirals or words embedded, that's the space illusion space on Hugging Face. I played with this one with my kids a lot. If you've seen like these comics that are generated with Stable Diffusion XL, that's another space. There's, I think, over 30,000 great public demos out there on the web, and every week we feature the most fun. All right, so now you have your demo, your product team gave you the thumbs up, good job. Now it's time to go to production. Like, how can you do that from the Hugging Face Hub? So that's what the deploy button is all about. So once you have this model, if you want to put some infrastructure behind it, have a robust API that's going to scale with your demand, that's a whole other world, which if you do it yourself, is kind of a whole other world of pain. And we try to make it super, super easy for our users, so that your models are basically plug and play for your applications. And so what does this look like? It looks like this. Select the model that you want to deploy. It can be like your private model that you just fine-trained, or it can be any of the public models on Hugging Face. Select the cloud you want it to be deployed on, the region that makes most sense for you. And then select what kind of instance, what kind of power you want to put behind the model. And that's basically all you have to do to create this new API that's been created just for you with infrastructure that's there just for you, that can scale up whenever you get a lot of users, that can scale to 0 whenever you're not getting any user, and so you can stop paying. And that's how you put your models into production. Again, you can do the same very easily on SageMaker. We have great deep learning containers, inference toolkit to do that directly within SageMaker if you can't use our tenancies. So, in summary, how do you build AI applications with Hugging Face Hub, including with LLMs and generative AI? Well, you can use the hub to host your models and datasets. You can use the hub to collaborate with your team or with the community on your models and datasets. You can demo your great models using Spaces and then deploy to production using inference endpoints. All right. Now, one of the least known things about Hugging Face is probably like how we work with companies. Like, I get the question a lot, which is kind of sad because it's kind of my job. So I'm not very good at my job. So I decided to be better at my job and like to tell you like how we work with companies. So I told you about the Hugging Face Hub and how you can work with it as a data scientist, sort of like single player mode. But then if you're a team and you have like a CIO or people look at security, then pretty soon they're going to say, hey, we need to manage this thing. We have like 5 different users. They're all doing their thing on their Hugging Face account. Like, we need to put that into something that's a little more organized. That's where the Hugging Face Enterprise Hub thing comes into play. So you can use SSO, you can use access controls, you can use advanced security features, and basically benefit from all the SOC 2 Type 2 compliance we've built into the product. So that's new, and that's Enterprise Hub. The next way that we work with companies is through our expert support. And so we make models available, we make open source libraries available, we make everything easily accessible through the Hugging Face Hub. But everything I talked about is still pretty new and novel. And so to really help onboard companies into this new generative AI stuff, turns out the best way we can accelerate them is to work directly with them, to orient them, guide them, answer the questions as they're building their AI themselves. and generally upskill them along the way. And that's what our expert support does. And then there are some new stuff that we just launched. One is training cluster as a service. And so we've made a lot of things very easy at Hugging Face, like fine-tuning a model, easy, deploying a model, easy, pre-training a model, still very, very hard. Like there is maybe 2 handfuls of teams in the world that have been that have experience in building sort of 10+ billion scale large language models, and every team that has attempted it has had to sort of create their own ad hoc tooling to overcome challenges they were facing along the way. And so did we, as we went and created open reproduction models that match sort of the closed models capabilities. We've done that with big science when we created the Bloom large language model, 175 billion parameter model that is still like the best multilingual model out there. We've done that with Big Code, with the Star Coder model, which is a 15 billion code generation model that is on par with the best closed models from OpenAI and AWS available today. We've done that recently with Stupeflix. That's actually something I should add to my slides, which is an open reproduction of Flamingo, the multimodal model from DeepMind that is closed source. Equivalent, it's a multimodal model just like GPT-4, meaning it can fit its text and images and will give you an answer in text. So in building all of these models, like we've built a lot of expertise and custom tooling, and today we're making it available to enterprises who want to go through this step of pre-training their own model from scratch. SafeCoder, also new. I think a month ago I was in Vegas to announce it along with VMware. And SafeCoder is about, okay, so we have open source models, which is great because now I can deploy them in-house and I don't need to rely on third-party APIs and models I don't control or understand. And SafeCoder is sort of the easy way to do everything that I just said for an enterprise. So it's an end-to-end solution where we will work with the enterprise for them to train their own code generation model, meaning it's fine-tuned to your code base and it's going to understand like your programming languages, going to understand your coding practices. And then we're going to deliver it into something that you can deploy in your own infrastructure. Isn't it weird that like when you use a code assistant as an API, like every time a software developer at your company like types something, like your source code, like your company's source code goes up on the internet? Like, does anybody like ever care about that? That's kind of weird. Anyways, so SafeCoder is a good answer to that. And then I talked to you about Hugging Chat earlier, which is our free experience where you can converse with open models, much like you could converse with GPT-4 on ChatGPT. We also offer this as an end-to-end solution to enterprises so they can deploy assistance within their infrastructure that knows about their internal documents and all that good stuff directly in their infrastructure. And I should have added a thank you slide. It's over, bye-bye, but I didn't. So I'm going to take questions if you have any for me. And I have a few stickers here, there, for after, when we're done.
Jeff very kindly brought us Hugging Face stickers, and has more too, but grab them, because I'm sure these are going to go pretty quick. We have time, we have about 5 minutes still. We also have the space behind the wall here. Afterwards, there's a space for like office hours if you have other questions, or out in the hallway too. But right now, are there any questions? We can't
over there.
Shout it out.
Thank you so much. And the question was, like, what resource would you recommend to learn about everything that we offer? And I think one of the best resources we have for people to sort of jump into our world and go from like a consumer to a builder is our free online courses. And we have multiple of them. There is one NLP course, and you can find it on huggingface.co/course. That is going to teach you how to build natural language processing applications with Hugging Face, how to fine-tune a model, how to train a model, how to deploy a model, and do all this yourself. It's free and it's self-paced. We also recently published a course on audio to teach how to build audio models to transcribe speech into text, to recognize speakers, etc. We also recently released a course for reinforcement learning, which is a very interesting sort of area of machine learning where transformers is changing things. And we also released a free course for diffuser models so that you can learn how to build your own stable diffusion, fine-tune models, adapter models, and even how to create audio diffusion experiences. So these courses are free and are available either on our site or on our GitHub, and are, I think, great resources. Thanks for the question.
In the middle there?
Next, what in the future?
Roadmap?
So what are Hugging Face's next goals for the future? And I think that really depends on the horizon you're looking at. I mean, our mission is to democratize good machine learning. Our goal is that every single company is able to build their own AI. Don't have to rely on sort of to outsource their AI to third parties. And we want every company in the world to use Hugging Face to some extent as they build their own AI. So that's kind of the long-term goal. And then in the short term, I mean, there's just so much that is happening today. Our very like day-to-day goal is to offer as quickly as possible the best possible resources to the community. So Mistral just released their new model today. It's available on Hugging Face. Probably by the end of the week, you're going to have new releases of transformers, of text generation inference, so you can take advantage of them. And then there's going to be a release of like our deep learning containers for SageMaker, so that you can do that easily on SageMaker, etc. So the goal is really to make the best resources as easily, as quickly accessible to the community. I have time for one more, I'm said. Somewhere in the middle? Hi. Thank you very much. How to prevent AI from misuse. And for us, like the main and most important thing is accessibility and transparency. Meaning we want the community to be able to understand how things work, to experiment with them, and to be part of the solution to improve them. I think the wrong way of approaching misuse of technology is to pretend like you can lock it in a drawer and nobody's going to be able to do it. We think it's quite the opposite. And so what we're trying to promote is a vision of the future where the power to build with AI is decentralized and is not centralized. It's a vision of the future where everybody has access and can contribute to the latest AI, so that as a community, we can steer things in the right direction. At the end of the day, like, what we're trying to do is to maximize the positive uses of AI while minimizing the harmful uses of AI. And so I go back to the first 2 slides of my presentation, which is we actually changed our mission. It used to be democratize machine learning, like making the technology accessible to as many people. But we amended it 2 years ago because we recognized that ethics needed to be a first consideration in how we make machine learning accessible. So now it's democratize good machine learning, and we want to offer the community as many tools as possible so they can sort of practice ethical first machine learning. At the end of the day, it's not really about the risk of machine learning, it's about the risk of how people use it.
Fantastic. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you very much.